Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I'll be your host for the rest of the morning until lunchtime. We have 4 exciting sessions, keynotes, and we'll have a break in about an hour. We're running a little bit late, so we're probably going to have to rush through a little bit. Just a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Tarik Qahawish. I'm the Director of Marketing and Digital here at AIMIA Middle East. I actually just moved here from Canada. Used to be the Marketing Digital Director at the Aeroplan program, AIMIA's flagship loyalty program, where I oversaw some of the digital strategies, channel development, e-business, and e-commerce in that program. I'm very happy to be joining you today, and gives me a pleasure to introduce our first keynote of this late morning. Next keynote is entitled 3 Steps to Provoke Emotional Loyalty by Ayman Deik, Group Director of Brand Loyalty and Partnership at the Jumeirah Group. Mr. Deik is a highly motivated, enthusiastic, and proactive leader with over 19 years in professional, commercial, and managerial experience in banking, real estate, telecommunications, and hospitality organizations. His roles have included being a marketing and corporate and communication director. Therefore, he has extensive experience in developing marketing strategies for business goals and objectives, creative, innovative marketing tools, and steering the execution of marketing programs. Prior to joining Jumeirah, Ayman worked for Emirates Bank International, Samad Dubai, Dubai International Financial Exchange, and he is based right here in the UAE. Please welcome Mr. Ayman Deik.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Well, it's a very nice introduction by Tarik. I think I need to go to plastic surgeon to look at my facials. I need to do some lifting, but still, yesterday was my birthday, so I feel a little bit younger. So I'm going to talk about emotions. So I accept gifts even after my birthday. So cash will do, and all currencies will be accepted as well. It's a very interesting topic, and to be honest with you, it was in Jumeirah as a brand that I moved away from. As mentioned by Tarik, I come from a very financial background where numbers and data and customer transactions and profitability is a key factor of how we actually look at the customer at the end of the day, segment them based on their relationship, multiple relationships, so on and so forth. And nobody actually looked into the emotional engagement with the guests. And this is something that it evolved and developed throughout the years until today when I moved from the core banking to telecom, which actually I gained a lot of experience there in terms of customer experiences as how important they are in terms of defining that relationship with the client. And Do actually came and gave a different dimension to the whole market, especially on the local market here. How important is it to add something other than the telecom services? With the tagline, they called it add life to life. And that's some very strong emotional commitment from a brand that just recently came to the market with a strong promise. And everybody started engaging with that kind of mindset of how can we do as a company, add life to life. And based on that services and the mindset, everything from that point onward was actually how to make the customer feel better and how can they love the brand and stick to it. Despite the fact they had at the time very technical challenges, they had network challenges, coverage, reach, customer base, but actually the growth that happened because of that promise that was done by the brand and was delivered day by day, which is the emotional commitment, add life to life. And that's one of the strong kind of examples that I could start my speech with, that I lived it personally and I enjoyed it every single day to see how the company and the brand is progressing because of delivering always an emotional commitment to our guests, or at the time, their customers. So we'll go to the basics and trying to explain what is a brand from emotional side. Then we'll try to differentiate between traditional branding and emotional branding, and at the same time we talk about the emotional engagement part, which leads to loyalty. How to deliver an emotional brand commitment and engagement with your customers. and how to audit your emotional brand, and how actually can put some kind of metrics in place to evaluate the level of feelings and emotions that your customer can share with you at every touch point throughout their experience. So in basic words, the brand is a person's feelings about the product or a service or the company. It's a feeling. It's how you feel about it. That's the initial engagement with a particular brand, how you feel about it. Do you trust it? Do you like it? Do you think it's trendy? Do you think it's part of your lifestyle? Is it something away from what your values are? So that's something very important at the beginning of your engagement, is how you feel about that particular brand. Again, another quote, it says, a brand is not a brand until it talks to your emotions. It has to touch your hearts and emotions in order for it to be called a brand that close to your heart. And to summarize it all, a brand speaks to the mind and the heart. So it has to make sense to you. It has to be something that relevant to you in order for you to have engagement with that particular brand. Also, it will lead to a long-term commitment once you feel that bonding with a particular brand based on the values that you commonly share. Looking at some of the brands here, and you see Jumeirah on the top actually should be part of here, but both of them are the same. So you see the emotional part. Immediately with each brand, you'll give it an emotional kind of a tagline. You love it. It's easy. It's convenient. It's safe. It has an emotional relationship with that particular brand, other than the value and the benefit or the service they offer at the end of the day. A very kind of differentiate between an emotional and a traditional kind of marketing. We look at this particular Nike ad. It talks about a very trendy product. It has a very slick, it talks about the feature, the performance, and it gets you into it in terms of understanding that's a new, different type of product they're coming up with the market. And you can make out from the design and the positioning of this particular ad that it has different features that will improve your athletic performance or your lifestyle. But actually, when you take the emotional marketing side, it will give you that engagement from a social point of view. Can you benefit from it from terms of to make it an enjoyable experience while you're doing it? You shouldn't worry about your wear, except you have to worry about your performance and how you actually is going to make you feel better by doing that particular thing. And enjoy other things so they take you away from the functionality and the performance or the product features in terms of the results and experiences that will put you in. So that is a key differentiator between both type of marketing. When we talk about the loyalty, it's something that was touched base by my previous speakers. It talks about a lot of the traditional way of today we're rewarding customers by being physically engaging with them by a card and communicating to them based on segmentation, their profitability, their lifestyle, their preference, and so on and so forth. That's amazing. But actually the most important thing is to take away that the mindset of we know what you want, we will give you what we think you want, but actually we're not listening to the customer what they want from our side. So now all the channels from social media, mobile, everything that the customer they engage with a brand on daily basis, they're trying to tell you a message, but we ignore it all the time because we're trying to push the information to them based on what we think they need to hear from us, at what time, what product, at what price. But actually you should see the change today on loyalty, that a customer is more loyal to a brand that understands them and address their concerns when they want to, not when the brand wants to. So it's a different kind of mindset. And you see now there's a lot of powerful change in the market. The customer definitely wants to be in control and to define the rules of engagement with any brand. So no matter what we think, and we have a lot of better understanding about what the customer wants, what kind of service they would acquire from us. At the end of the day, they make it or break it, because if it's not relevant to them, they dump it. If you keep sending them irrelevant offers and communication, will definitely close the door. And that's what's coming today. There's a lot of customers want brands to listen to them by telling them, can you offer me this at this rate? Can you provide this service for me? Can you cater for this experience? And that's a big domain and an area that if all brands today, they're trying to be more alert and trying to address that concern in a very constructive way. And I'll tell you a couple of examples that we've done at Jumeirah today, that actually we're moving away from telling the customer what he should get from us, trying to tell us what you want from a brand, from us to deliver to you. So I'll give you a couple of examples of that as we go. So how to evaluate your brand today in terms of your emotional engagement with a particular segment of your market. First of all, your colleagues is the one who deliver that emotional experience. Anything digital, it can be handled and managed by experts. You can hire consultants. You can get people actually to design your marketing collateral. They put the social media kind of content. They can be emotionally engaged with the guests based on those virtual channels. But actually, when you are in the service industry and face-to-face, and it's a guest-facing experience, that's the emotional experience level at the peak, at the most. So you have to make sure that your colleagues, they're emotionally trained, emotionally ready to actually accept the guest different cultural differences and values in order for them to deliver that emotional engagement with the guest. So colleagues in a service industry, when it's guest-facing, you have to get them geared up and to understand the importance of that cultural differences, emotional differences, service differences as well, and customer expectations and how to deliver that. So one of the main focal points of getting engaged with the guests or your customers is your colleagues. You need to review the customer touch points. And this is something that we've been doing ongoing. Every single couple of 2 to 3 months, we get together with the operational team, marketing team, the corporate comm, and actually look into the existing process because we've done a very, I'll show you an example of that particular metrics that we do. It's the emotional engagement metrics, which actually goes into the guests and the colleagues as well. They will determine the level of happiness that the customer goes through his experience, through his journey. And the colleague themselves will be very transparent and honest by actually giving a rating based on the customer facial and emotional reactions to a particular experience within his customer, his journey. Based on that, we'll sit with the operational guys and the technical guys and everybody else involved in that particular service and reevaluate the processes and procedures. And that's where always the gap and the challenge, because there's service standards that put the colleague in a framework. I have to finish this within this given time. I have to key in the data in that particular format. I have to make sure that the checklist is done, and the customer is waiting and not looking into his facial expressions. So today, by doing this particular exercise, and we make it across the board globally through all our properties, and it's something been started in 2011 until today. It's a very religious thing that we conduct on every quarter, that we meet with the general managers, we take them through the emotional audit, we take them through the touch points, and based on that, we change the processes and the procedures of a particular service level. It depends on the market again. So again, segmentation and trying to cater your service to a particular market is very important. And that's something we've seen the fruits of that. We've seen the customer satisfaction level went up, the customer comments is in a positive note is increasing. We've seen that the customer more engaging on social media from a positive feedback. So it gives us that kind of comfort by doing such an exercise where emotions and evaluated by the colleagues with total transparency, and there's nothing called it's not part of your scoring, it's part of your bonus. It's something that we encourage you to do, because once you identify something wrong and we rectify it as part of the process, definitely be rewarded. So that's one of the things that we've done from Jumeirah's side. Again, it's evaluating the customer journey. It's an ongoing process. So once you get your colleagues involved in an emotional level and mindset, you take them, again, trying to make the process emotionally acceptable, and it has all the controls and requirements, but actually make it an emotional engagement process, not very rigid, not very straight to the point. Trying to skip certain things, it depends on the customer, and that will ease out the customer journey and experience. One of the things that we've done in terms of changing a small minor process that impacted tremendously on the profitability side, where the check-in process, that you have to submit certain documentation. So we started trying to do a pre-check-in for guests, straight to the room, and everything else happened afterwards. And that kind of small shift in terms of the process, it improved the customer experience, but with whatever rating they conduct. I know it's a bit, all of us would know 15% increase in terms of customer satisfaction on that particular experience, which was at 75 or something. But imagine you add to it another 15, so it's 90% satisfaction on that particular experience itself at the customer journey. So we actually have to segment it based on every single customer touch point and evaluate that accurately and be very transparent and honest about it. And that's the only way you can achieve a better engagement with your customer. Step 2 is your customer values. And that's something was touched base with the previous speakers as well. Values is very important. Once you actually dealing with the customer as a dollar sign, he's something that you want to cash out. He's not an ATM machine. He's not something that you want to control his lifestyle and spendings. You look at him as what is that person's values are. And once you understand it from religion perspective, culture, tradition, lifestyle, ethnicity, whatever you want to call it, you understand that emotional values, you'll be able to deliver and cater that particular service to your customer. In Jumeirah, we have more than 120 different nationalities in the company. And each one of us that live in emotional engagement and commitment, I'll take you through it now when we define the Stay Different promise. Based on the brand promise, we actually identify the rules of engagement internally and rules of engagement with a customer and how we communicate with them. So very important to define your customer values and needs. And based on that, you always be on top of your competition and ahead of your competition, because you'll be able to identify what the customer values on a particular experience. Again, one size doesn't fit all anymore. It's not the same slogan again. Just I do it here, we did it right in this market, doesn't mean it's going to go to this market just right, because the values of that market and needs is totally different. And you have to always accept the customer differences that at any given point. And it's something that we defined here as culturally connected as a brand. When you are culturally connected, that means you understand the individuality of that particular guest or customer is totally different. And rules of engagement with each one of them, it has to be different and adapt to his values. That's very important. Again, I've heard a lot of words from previous speakers as well about listen. We have to listen. Sometimes we listen because we want to listen to what we want the customer to tell us. So you see a lot of surveys that we do, they are structured. They are rated. They are given to an expert to put it. And we tend somehow to tell it the way we want to. But actually, if you make it fluid, make it very, very kind of transparent, and make it more of not structured in a way that you want the customer to tell you what you want, and try and let them put free text. That's something we tried and it worked fabulously well. Because the customer always give a lot of emphasis on the things they want by the word, I need this. So we notice the word need, that means you must have. If you say I like, I wish, it's nice to have, this kind of things you convert to secondary is like food for thought. But the minute he mentioned the word I need in his email or his survey or rating a particular service, take that as a must have. And you can actually locate that as a customer profile if it's something personal, or you can actually evaluate if it can be done as part of his service standards. By creating interest, sometimes that brands, especially on loyalty programs, they're very structured. I'm gonna touch base on give more emphasis here about the loyalty programs. I've been managing the loyalty program for the past 2.5 years or so. We did tremendous changes in terms of the engagement with the guests based on the product offering. And we've done a lot of the emotional kind of touch points in terms of upgrading him to a higher tier, giving him extra points. But actually, again, it's commercialized. It has a dollar sign. It has a value. So one of the main things that we intend to do now is to move away from the traditional engagement channels through HTMLs and give them the control on their side. So we're developing a lot of high-tech, high-end solutions, which hopefully within a year or so, you're going to see it in the market, is the mobile apps. And this mobile app is going to be the tool that a customer will be engaged with the brand based on their needs and wishes, not about the offers that we're going to send to them. We're going to still communicate with them based on their customer value of points, operational, good offers, but actually what's more important, that application will be based on the customer engaging with us to tell us what they want. So that's something that we work on this very hard to achieve. So by changing your brand, changing your positioning, trying to reinvent your attributes and sense of brand as a personality and character. That will make you very exciting. And once you are exciting to your customers, trust me, they'll be more engaging with you and they're willing to talk. In a simple event that we've done, we invited some of the top spenders to the World Cup races. And you see the kind of discussions and the value of engagement that we got out of them. It's worth 10 times more than what a survey that you do and structured in a certain manner and spend a lot of money just to get that feedback. Some few people will come back to you and tell you exactly what they want, free of charge, based on a small social event. So social events and engagement on a person-to-person, sometimes over the phone. Call center is one of the most important channels today that gives you insights about what the customer needs. And we give them always to colleagues who manage more. They have a good vocal skills. They can understand the program and answer technical and operational things, but nobody can engage with the guest on that emotional assessment. And with something that we actually today, it's one of the big topics that in the company at brand level we're trying to address, to understand how can we utilize one of the biggest channels that we have on a customer engagement level to make it more emotional so we can get a lot of feedback and value from that particular interaction. So once you engage and inspire your customers based on being innovative and creative and think out of the box, definitely you'll engage them in dialogue. And when they talk to you, you actually have reached the maximum level of satisfaction and customer loyalty, because he's willing to talk to you freely and ask you exactly what he expects out of you. Create interest in terms of technology. Again, as my previous speakers as well said, the social media is a very strong channel today. But you have to be careful about using it, because sometimes it can cut you both ways. It's like you're playing with a dangerous weapon. You have to be careful to articulate that particular engagement. You have to put the right content. You have to put the right people behind it. Otherwise, it's going to become a negative channel for you to become the complaint management tool instead of becoming more engaging and creating interest with the guests. So whatever channels you put together, you have to put a full team, somebody actually to manage it for you. If you don't have people to manage it for you, outsource it. But don't do it unless you understand it's very important, because if you don't do it right, you would lose your customer. So if you want to get into the social media side, if you want to get into the technology side, get the right people to manage it for you, or don't do it at all. To refocus on, or to mention again what was done, previously talked about, the data, it's about the confidence. Once you are confident about your customer data and the customer believes in you and you deliver something based on the customer relevance and needs, you actually want him in terms of a product level. So you got him committed on a product level and the service level, so he'll be engaged with you to purchase. So once you get him and build that integrity level with him, that you were always there to deliver the service standard that you promised him with. So that's the two starting points. And let him feel proud that he's engaged with you, and the brand's proud of having him as a customer. So more of that personal commitment to that particular customer is very important. And then you create the passion. Passion for your brand. Even if you went wrong and things start going on the wrong direction, you always can win him back, because you are listening to him and there's a dialogue that's ongoing between you and your customer in open channels. If you invest a lot on technology and you put a lot of social media channels that a customer tells you what they want, you're not listening to them, trust me, that passion and that engagement will disappear in no time. I'll skip that one. I'll take you through to what Jumeirah would do in terms of brand development and emotional side. As a living example, we have a slogan or brand promise called "Stay Different." The company had it because it sounded good, and a lot of people give it a lot of definitions, and they give it different aspects of what that "Stay Different" should be and what does it mean. Then we got into a very lengthy and detailed and structured kind of discussions. What does it mean to us as a colleagues internally first? Let's define the brand to our internal customer. What does the brand mean to them? So we defined the 3 different rules of engagement with our colleagues is treat colleagues with respect and integrity. That's what the brand to them means. And we did something called the employee branding exercise. We tell them the place to be, the place to belong, the place to shine. That is the brand promise internally. So that emotional engagement from brand to internal customer give that emotional commitment when we take it out to the customer. So the first showstopper or the first milestone was achieved by getting the colleagues understand what the brand promise are, feel the value and live it. Not just say it, just live it and feel it. It's actually deliver what they promise. So they will build that passion with our colleagues. The second thing we decided, okay, what is the most important thing is how to take it to market. How the customer will start receiving our brand. Other than the product and the service and the pricing and the packaging and the sales team and all the brochures that we sent out, is actually how they should have that evaluate the emotional level. So we said the brand has to be imaginative and exhilarating. So the experience of the customer has to be imaginative. So from a marketing perspective, when you put a marketing piece, make it imaginative. Put behind it a lot of content that get the customer in the mindset and the feeling mindset of how the experience will be at the end of his journey. Thoughtful and generous. So you have to expect that the brand will always do the extra for you. It's value for money. It's always your wish becomes all your wishes become granted. So more of that generosity will happen based on the colleagues' empowerment. So we empower the colleagues to actually go the extra mile and to give an extra service to the customer to make that experience thoughtful and generous. Going back to the initial point, it changed your process, change your procedures, and change your engagement. Culture connected, that is based on the values and culture of your different customers. So you understand them not as a dollar sign, you look at them as a human who has a value and a different culture differences. So the way that you deliver your experience, it has to be based on a cultural metrics that you understand the customer. For example, we had a case where people normally tend in the Middle East, they don't shake hands with females. So there's definitely always that differences when it comes to different cultures, that maybe if you not shaking hands with the person, that's an insult. So we start getting the colleagues today engaging of that, it's called emotional and physical engagement with the guest, to what level. So we agreed that smile first is your emotional engagement with any guest, before even doing any physical kind of gestures to your guest, or to a colleague, or to a business meeting, whoever you're engaging with, trying to create that barrier with a smile. So a smile is neutral, it doesn't give you that, put you in trouble. So that culturally connected kind of touch points, they might be small, but actually they are very effective and avoid a lot of problems and conflict with your guest. So we're trying to bring State Different to life. So again, it's we interact a lot with our customers on a regular basis. So all the touch points and communication goes out to the customer. They have to address the three different pillars: imaginative, thoughtful, and culturally connected. The three stages, as we always know it. Functionality, product features, it gives you that satisfaction. Your satisfaction based on the value of money. But actually when you start defining how you feel about it, that's you achieve the emotional engagement. And the emotional engagement always reacts in different way. Because sometimes you feel the customer, even when they complain, and they're giving you a lot of negative feedback, they're trying to give you an emotional message. And not because he wants to complain, because he wants something back, or you wanted to give him additional benefits, or trying to reverse the transaction if it's something to do with purchase. It's more of telling you that he is passionately and he likes a lot of your products. He's passionately involved with your brand, and that's why he's complaining, because he wanted to make up with them. And that's a very important kind of engagement. So we define today in Jumeirah, we split in terms of our complaints that it's a functional complaint or it's an emotional complaint. If the emotional complaint is handled totally differently, so we go the extra mile, we give him to be more generous, we adjust to it. Even if the customer is not, he doesn't have the right for a particular, let's call it reward, or a particular reversal of a transaction, something that happened, we always go the extra mile and do it, because his way of talking to us was based on an emotional level, not on a functional or a technical level. So that what makes a big difference in terms of you decide that your brand will become an emotional brand, not a functional brand. Again, on the heart of that emotional thing, we put the brand promise, and that's what everybody should know. And today, our guests, a lot of them, they come back to us with a lot of comments that says, I love this particular experience because it's actually was part of my culture. I discovered a new culture. It was something generous that, or overwhelming, it's value for money. So we identified those comments based on the brand promise, and that's communicated back to the colleagues so they can improve their service. This is the metrics that we use today. I took something from 2011 to tell you actually it's outdated, that we still use it until today. So we start using this particular metrics to identify the customer emotional engagement at every single touch point. And the colleague here, they have to be very transparent and honest about it. And that's where the service level improved tremendously, because we're becoming the devil advocates ourselves. So we're telling our colleagues, tell us what went wrong with the guest. Was he happy? Was he upset? Was he smiling? Was he tired? All the emotional levels and ratings was done throughout the customer journey and engagement with the brand. And based on that, we do a quarterly meeting with the whole operational team and management team and take them about a property specific, what need to be improved in order for them to improve the customer engagement and emotional side. And it's been very effective. Trust me, if I'll share with you the results of only the last quarter of the second quarter of 2013, you see tremendously how the GMs today and the line managers and even colleagues, they will know are they improved in their emotional engagement or not? Because that when the customer, I didn't better move this. So to see if the customer is happy about the level of service they're giving with them. So it's becoming like more of a cultural thing. Oh my God. Guys, I need that. So it's becoming more of a cultural thing from the colleagues. They are looking forward to this particular kind of reports so they can actually adopt it, change it, and brag about it to other colleagues. You know what? When I deliver that service, I always get the highest rating on the emotional side. It's nothing to do about the standards, because the standards are followed and they have a different metrics together. But actually when it comes to emotions, that's one-to-one what matters to us. And you should see today, maybe you notice it because you're in Jumeirah today, and I hope you received this and you felt it somehow, that the culture is there. The colleagues are trying to be very attentive, not because they are watched, because they want to be. And trust me, when they go back, this is the kind of things they have to fill in as part of their experience, engagement in a particular event. And it will definitely improve their delivery and the brand promise and the brand engagement, and everybody will loves you afterwards. So to close this beautiful speech, I hope it was addressed some of the concerns. I know you all know it. It's something you live it every single day. But sometimes the thought of saying, let's move away from the core business functions that we do today, from the P&L side. Let's not look at the numbers, look at the rating on the emotional side. And trust me, if you do that, you become a star in front of your customers. So a brand that captures your mind, it gains behavior, it makes sense, it's realistic. But actually a brand that captures your heart, it's a commitment. So once you talk to my heart, you're in love, and then long lasting. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ayman.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation. I was glad to see that you went actually provided step-by-step how-to for a lot of the social media managers out there on how to provoke customers to become more loyal and engaging. I'm gonna, while you guys thinking for questions, I'd like to ask you one, please. For the social media managers that are out there, they'll probably look at all of these things and looking, wow, great, only you could do this at a big company like Jumeirah. But what are the obstacles, the internal organizational obstacles that you had to overcome, or what advice you would give other social media managers to prepare for, so you can actually do the steps that you've provided for?
To be honest with you, I'm a big advocate of social media networks and trying to encourage a lot of brands, especially properties and marketing managers, to go and engage with the social media as to adopt them as much as possible. But they have to be careful. They have to be extremely careful about not bombarding the customer more than they want to. You have to base it on a scientific way. You have to put the data, whatever channel it is, social media, direct marketing, whatever it is, the data is the base. You have to understand your customer fully. And based on that, you start engaging with them. Because sometimes the social media becomes, today, it's a personal preference from the customer. It's a personal thing. If I give it to you and I'm trying to engage with it on a social side, then communicate back to me. But don't enforce yourself into the customer on the social media as must-have because I got you on social in a Twitter or on Facebook or on on Instagram. I have to start giving you the communication. It doesn't give me the right. So again, the data privacy and the customer preferences is very important. Social media should be more of a reminder, not an ongoing communication channel. It's more like saying, hi, how are you, socially. But if it's not a commitment, it shouldn't be a channel that ongoing that you ask the customer to purchase. It becomes more of a commercial.
And for organizations that don't have a social media evangelist like you at the highest level, what are the things that they need to think about to actually try to sell to the organization, to the executives, that this is important, this is what we need to do? What are the top challenges that you think that they should overcome?
From organization point side or
yes,
marketeers?
Internally, within the organization itself.
Well, today, be honest with you, that we are investing heavily in our own kind of digital marketing team to manage and to create a very strong social media management team. Again, saying it's not about the channel, it's how you manage it. So we're trying to put the experts in the right place. We're getting the right customers. We're getting the right people to interact in different levels, different languages. So actually they address that social media engagement from a loyalty perspective in a more professional way. It's not about I chat with you and I respond and I'm there for you on a social media as a presence, but actually you have to provide content. And to be honest with you, today, even at Jumeirah, with the level that we are in today, and we have a global presence in social media, we still have not mastered certain things of the social media. That's why the need, and we agreed that we have to put a special team only to look after the social media, managed by the corporate communication and the marketeers themselves. So you see that particular string link between the two different entities, that if you want to engage, you have to do it right.
Excellent. Any questions from the audience? Okay, one more question, and I'll let you think a little bit more if you have any more questions. In the keynote speak yesterday from Paul Lacey about the white paper, we talked about, he mentioned about the difference between a like and a love. And the like is more when you're using your rational brain, you transact, you buy something, and you like it. But moving to the love side is a lot of what you talked about, which is bringing the emotion into it. Can you give us an example of how you moved something from a like to a love, or what are the things that you need to do as a social media manager or a brand to move customers from a like to love?
Today, actually, we encourage a lot of the honeymooners package, for example. There was like a product, it's set by the whole brand, especially by Burj Al Arab, that we have to do something very exciting, engaging, and it's a lifetime experience. So they had a package. It's very emotional. It was at the time. It was very functional and product driven. So it tells you what kind of suite you get, the car you're going to get into, what kind of benefits you're going to get. You get a private butler, but nobody actually looked into that engagement. Those, new lovers, they got a life together. They're going to spend. They need to remember the day that they spend at Jumeirah, not as a room, but actually what they get with it. So the whole campaign, the whole experience was transformed into nothing to do with the product. It was more of the emotional engagement, and the whole experience from the time of arrival until the time of departure is nothing to do about the brand or about the product, but actually talked about the experience, and it got a lot of views. Yesterday, actually, we got a beautiful piece of news that our YouTube videos that we put recently, it reached 9 million viewers. So that tells you the power of rich media and rich content on the website and on the net. That gives you a lot of exposure. It's much more effective than just putting an ad in a local newspaper. Now with a click, everybody will see you, everybody views you. But now you change it from a product to an emotional engagement experience. And we got, at the time, I think there was like 20 packages was booked within a month's time, based on that emotional video and content that was put on the website.
Fantastic, great. If there's no other questions, I would like to. Do I have one question at the end? Thank you.
Hello, I am Mihad from AIMIA. My question is, will you still have the same customer service if you have bigger data, bigger number of customers? Like I see you have said you always take care of every customer's concern, and you like to give a very good importance to it. You like to listen to your customers. And what are your advices for organizations that have very big data? Like, how can they keep the customer satisfaction?
That's a good question. Definitely, no way on earth I would be able to make every single customer happy. And I cannot address all their concerns. But what we do, we create different channels that will very well manage to make sure that the colleagues are empowered to to act on behalf of a brand to rectify a particular problem. The surveys that we conduct, different focus groups, different levels, based on different segments. But actually, when the brands start growing, your point is extremely valid if you have a much bigger database or market reach. And we operate in different countries. We have the challenge of language, culture, frequency, method of engagement. So those kind of challenges that comes with your ambitions to become and to grow, that you have to gear up for how to conduct a non-traditional surveys, transform them into the engagement with the guests at any given time, whether through a sales call, whether through a social media ad, or through an actual survey, structured survey, or at the call center level. So every time the customer engage with you and talking to you, you're trying to have a small kind of food for thought and engagement questions to identify the customer experience. Oh, how was it today? How did you feel today about the experience? I hope you enjoyed your dinner last time, because you're looking at his transactions. And he can give you comments. Oh yeah, it was very good, but the minute he buts, you put that comment on it and attach it to the profile. And when all the surveys are conducted in non-traditional survey format, it comes to the product manager who's in charge of that particular experience to look at it. So this is the way that we conduct surveys and ongoing without going hardcore with a structured, formatted survey per se. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we're going to have to leave it at that. I want to thank again
Thank you
Ayman.
very
Thank you
much.
very much for your time today. Appreciate it. Another round of applause, please.